Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to the final trading session of this week, and this will be the final trading session of the month of April. So, could we have the sell in May and go away syndrome? I don't know, but we'll see here at MarketStream.live. My name is Joseph Cusick from the Cusick Group, securities offered by MoneyBlock. Let's take a look at all the overnight action in Asia. And, this week has been an interesting week to say the least. There's been a lot of outperformance in some of the major indices in Asia. And specifically, when you look at Japan, it overnight finished down almost 0.3% at 19,196.70. So it's down 55 points. But what's notable is that look at this chart right here. You saw that on the weekly basis, it finished up on the week up 3.1%, and you'll see that it gapped up above its 20-day moving average. It now is settled above it for the week, and that's the first time in almost a month that we've seen that the Nikkei in Japan was over the 20-day moving average. That means that the short-term bulls, they're back in control in Japan. And the biggest catalyst has been all week. The fact of the matter is that they had a weak yen, and now we have some mixed data though. This is a big global data and earnings period right now. And when you take a look at the Japanese CPI, now they did ratchet down expectations yesterday. We noted that on the open yesterday when we were talking about the action. But the actual CPI came in a tick lower at 0.2%. So it wasn't like we didn't expect that it was going to come in lower than expected. Retail sales, though, they came in lower at 0.8%. They were expecting more along the lines of 1.1%. And the industrial production down 2.1%. So you're really seeing some mixed data. Nothing that the market really took on the chin, being down on 0.3% for the evenings or for the overnight session, and being up 3.1%, just trimming a little bit before the close of business and going into the new May expiration cycle. You continue to see that the yen has struggled. You're looking at the ETF that tracks the yen FXY. But the pair also trading right around 111. Basically, you're still seeing that the Japanese yen is under some pressure. But again, in that battle zone right now where it's resting right on its 20-day moving average. So any yen bulls out there on the short and intermediate as well as long term, they're under pressure right now. And for the moment, the Japanese markets are taking advantage of the weak yen. Taking a look at the Shanghai Composite, a little bit of a different story overnight. It was up ever so slightly, a couple points. It's been a lot of muted action this week, but the Chinese markets have come off their worst levels. Earlier this week, there was concern and still is concern that the Chinese government could tighten the standards for both lending and investment on the mainland. Up still, though, 0.6%, resting right on that 50-day moving average at 31.53 on the Shanghai Composite. We're going to watch this very closely going into next week. This has been a tight trade and a difficult trade, but again, as I had noted, you can see on the chart, the Shanghai Composite has come off of its lows. It finished the week ever so slightly in the green, but we'll see if it's resting on that very pivotal weekly 50-day moving average. Let's see how that actually performs. What has been performing well, though, is Hong Kong. Despite the fact that those standards could be tightened up, that was expected in late last year. We started talking about it. If you go back and look at some of the older episodes, we were talking late last year in the November, December, and then getting into early this year where Hong Kong property markets were being a little bit squeezed because there was discussion about the tighter lending standards. Well, now it seems to be that this concern may be a little bit more warranted since it's going to hit the mainland as well. But Hong Kong performed very well this week, up 2.4%. You can see it's well above its 20-day moving average for the week. And you saw that being up 2.4% and only being challenged ever so slightly going into the close of April. This has been a very solid move for the Hang Seng. We're going to keep an eye on that for the remainder going into next week, see if that continues, especially if we get any news front over the weekend. Finally, taking a look at India. India has had a pretty solid week, up 1.6%. Overnight, it did pull back almost 0.4% at 0.37%, down 111 points at 29,918. You're really seeing that banks and outsourcing names are really struggling in the overnight session. Not enough to really pull the market down significantly, but it did put enough pressure to take out almost 0.4% on what has been a very positive week. This is one of the strongest areas in Asia. We're going to watch this very closely. Now that we're getting closer to what could be some trade agreements, that could impact visas. You know, we've been talking about immigration for a while. We're going to see how that's going to impact India. They are a big outsourcer. We'll see. Energy, though, was a silver lining in the Indian markets overnight. We're going to watch that one very closely. All right, folks, that is it right now for the overnight action report for Asia. It's been a great week. I really appreciate everybody joining us at this early hour in the morning. We will be back at 8:45 Eastern, 7:45 Central Time. We're going to be talking about everything that's happening in Europe here at MarketStream.live.